Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right. I don't even know why I turned on the video. I should probably be watching the Knicks games at halftime right now. But, it's one of those situations where just wanted to turn on and say hello to everybody. Hope everyone's having a great day. As far as the NBA is concerned, there hasn't been a whole lot of extras going on with the team that I follow, the Lakers, since we're not playing right now. And, of course, it's about the coaching situation. And so we really talked about just about everything that I've heard about in regards to the news that is out there, who we're interested in. I like the names that have been listed for the most part. J.J. Redick, Sam Cassell, the Minnesota Timberwolves assistant coach Dave Borgel or something. I'm not sure exactly what his name is. It's not coming to mind right now, but I'm sure I'll know it if we hire him. Also, Chris Quinn. And I was listening to Udonis Haslam's endorsement of Chris Quinn, an assistant coach with the Miami Heat, and he was essentially saying that LeBron James has been coached by this guy, so he'll demand his respect, and he believes that the locker room will be somewhat cynical if we hire J.J. Redick, because they won't know if the message is coming from the king or coming from J.J. whenever something is being said. It's not really the position I took on that, but it's something similar in that same ballpark, in the sense that, I just don't think they'll really respect J.J. in crunch time moments and things like that, because he's someone who likely would have been falling in line with the team rather than a leading voice in the locker room. It's like he just was a player a couple years back. He'd have been a role player on this team. You know what I mean? He would have been listening like everybody else. So it's like, are we really following somebody who has never led anybody to championship situations, or rather even never even coached at a high enough level? When the pressure's on the line and we need leadership, is J.J. Redick going to be the guy that's going to provide that leadership? And I don't know. The answer is yes. I trust J.J. to make decisions as it pertains to picking plays and, drawing up stuff like that. I'm all for bringing him in as a offensive mastermind. I like the idea of having a basketball player who was an excellent shooter be a coach for our team. Helping being a shooting coach can always help. You know what I mean? When you consider some of the issues we've had with shooters, having a guy like J.J. Redick be able to work with those guys and still be in shape and able to kind of run sets and stuff with the team, I think can really be a plus. There's going to be times where I'm going to be like, J.J., you sure you don't want to suit up because our shooting guard ain't that great? Like, that's how far removed he is from the game. Not very much. So for me, it's just like, will they respect J.J.? J.J.'s a young guy. I mean, we're the same age. So I know there are younger coaches in the league than us, but still, when you don't have any experience, I think that really works against you to a degree when you're a young man. And so I just wonder, LeBron James, same age as JJ. Are people really going to look to JJ for leadership, or are they just going to go straight past him and go to Bron? So I think that's what we have to wonder about when we're considering the situation with the coaching situation. Is how much will JJ demand in terms of respect? How much will JJ demand in terms of, okay, we're in a crunch time situation, we're down by 5 with a minute to go. Do I have any faith that whatever JJ says is going to be something I should listen to if I'm a 6th, 7th year guy? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah, so, I don't know. I just think a lot of that, I think JJ's going to be put in a position that's almost impossible because the stakes are high. And it's damned if you do, in a sense, damned if you don't. If we don't make the playoffs, then he's failed. If we do make the playoffs, then he's in these pressured situations where he's going to be expected to understand things that he's never been through. Not as a coach, so it's like you're setting yourself up for not really knowing how to handle what it is you're expected to be responsible for. And so I just don't like that for a rookie coach. I didn't like it for Darvin Ham, but I lived with it for Darvin Ham because I didn't have the data that I now have, having it failed with Darvin Ham. So that's really what it comes down to. It's failed with Darvin now. We had a rookie coach. It went terrible. So now I'm looking at that. And then I look at the Steve Nash situation, which I hate to compare the two, but hey, everybody else is doing it. So I think it's good enough data to at least say, that's a situation where we brought in a shooter, similar player, didn't work out, bad coach, that kind of thing. But then you could look at Steve Kerr and say, well, it worked out. Good coach, right? So I hope J.J. Redick has a great tenure with the Lakers. But that Golden State situation was already established. They had already been coached up real good for a year and a half, 2 years. With Mark Jackson, he had already worked through some of their issues, and now they were ready to take the next step anyway as a unit. So a lot of people would argue that Steve Kerr just inherited something great. He didn't actually build it up. That was Mark Jackson, who of course is a name that the NBA is just not going to give any looks at in regards to giving him another head coaching experience, because he's been blackballed for saying some things about the LGBTQ community that would be deemed offensive. That's really what it is. For those who are really wondering why he's blackballed, so to speak, it's because he said some things about them that he should not have said, many believe. And not only that, but he's very religious, and sometimes it's been said that he did some things that kind of fed the religion on to some of the players and coaching staff in a way that made them feel uncomfortable, I guess. That's what I understand it to be. So when you put those two things together, a man who's devout Christian, unapologetic, and very aggressive in a sense of providing that faith toward others, it ain't gonna go over well, or at least it didn't when he was coaching. And so that's why I believe, and what I've understood it to be, he won't be getting another job in this NBA. Is that fair? Probably not, to be honest with you. If I'm being completely honest with people, I don't think that's fair. Only because we've forgiven people for things that were violent in nature. And so maybe he has some views that we don't appreciate, but it is what it is. I think that doesn't necessarily tell the story about whether man can do a job, because he clearly did a great job with the Golden State Warriors. But, when you blackballed, you blackballed. Not to mention he had some issues in the New York Knicks market, where he made some enemies over there, and that situation was reported on not too long ago. So when you got that much coming against you, it's hard to get a job in the NBA. And that's why Mark Jackson can't seem to get a job, despite being one of the best assist men of all time. Really, what is he, third in assists all time? Like, this is not some slouch. But nevertheless, man, he's not going to be getting a job. So it's very unfortunate that the last time we saw him, he was building up the Golden State Warriors for Steve Kerr to take over. So now we look forward and see if JJ Redick can be somewhat of a Steve Kerr minus the Mark Jackson, because we know that Darvin Ham did not Mark Jackson the situation. He did not. But you just gotta support the coach, I guess. I hate to be the guy that says, we support anybody that puts on the uniform, because I totally don't agree with that. But if the Lakers deem him the guy they're going to hire, we want him to succeed, and we want to give him the respect that comes with knowing that he has some strengths that can really benefit our team. And I guess that's my point of view. I think JJ has some strengths that if you have him in your locker room, you're glad he's there. Now, I don't know if he has weaknesses that are going to make us want to kick him out of that same locker room. I'm concerned about that. I think most people are concerned about that, but it doesn't mean that we have any evidence at all that he would suck at the job or be in and over his head. We're just assuming that he's a rookie, so naturally he would be in and over his head, especially with the pressure to win now. And so that's just what it is. It's not necessarily a knock on JJ. Anybody with the credentials of JJ would have a knock on them. And that's the point I want to make clear. I'm not against JJ specifically. In fact, I'm pro JJ in a nutshell. I just don't trust anybody taking over this position without having some experience, at least on the sidelines, as some type of coach. I don't need him to have head coaching experience, but some assistant coaching experience would help very much in giving us the confidence that that person can at least come in and have somewhat of a good start. So that's what concerns me, man. I don't think he's going to get off to a good start, because I don't think our roster is going to be very good. Now, maybe we do something where we get 3 stars and then, all the stars align, so to speak, and we're able to have a good team. But if you're counting on that, that's a rough bet, man. Because you got an older Bron coming in. AD played a lot of games. They're coming off Olympic basketball at the end of this summer, so they didn't really get a rest in the off season. It's I don't see too many worlds where they're not worn out by the end of the season, or where we're going to have to sit our core more than we prefer to so that they won't be. or worse, they're injured. You know what I mean? It's like that's what we're really signing up for. So the question is, can we build something cohesive enough of a unit that can play without Bron and AD? I think that's going to be just as important as having enough backups for those guys, that the teams that we have on the floor can be cohesive enough to run if our stars aren't out there. I think we had a pretty good team for that last year. We beat teams without our stars. And I think that is going to be just as important this year as it was last year. And if we neglect that, when those stars go down, we may not even have a cohesive enough ball club to win games. And during this LeBron James, Anthony Davis tenure, we've had that problem, where as soon as you remove those two pieces, now we don't even have a functioning basketball team. I think we did a fantastic job of making that not the case last year. If we couldn't do nothing else, if AD and Bron weren't on the floor, at least we had players who can make plays for one another, play certain roles that would at least allow basketball to be played at a NBA level. And we sustained. So I would ask Rob Pelinka to make sure that that's still a priority for us. Make sure that the team that you put on the floor has the requisite amount of elements so that cohesive basketball can be played without both your stars. And if they can win a game against a bad team without your stars, you've done your job. Because I think that's ultimately what it's going to be leaning on. I understand you may want to go to 3-star lineup, but make sure you have elements in place that can survive if all 3 stars are down. That is impossible seemingly based on how we have to build, but I think it'll go a long way in making your next coach's situation a successful one. Because if we can't keep those pieces on the floor, the coach is not going to do a very good job, because he's not going to do a whole lot of winning. And given the fact that we're not going to have our pick next year, that is not something you want to sign up for on purpose. Not at all. So that's why I would tell us to stay away from this 3-star lineup. Not enough basketball is expected to be played between our 2 stars, and that 3rd star, he's going to be out there running with garbage if we don't get lucky and gain a lot of talent around the team. So if you can get guys that can take a pay cut, maybe you get a guy like DeMar DeRozan take a massive pay cut, which I don't think will ever happen, but that would be a great piece to get at a significant pay cut. And that'll make us talented enough to do something. But if we can't get lucky in that way, we're in trouble. Now, one thing I heard this morning that I think is really, really important is we can trade to fill our mid-level exception pay money. In other words, you can use that like a trade exception this year, first time. And I like that aspect of the CBA. That way we don't have to give it only to free agents. We can make a move and just trade that cash consideration for a player. So I think that is supremely, supremely advantageous for our situation. I wouldn't look to give our mid-level exception to no Jonas Valanciunas or nothing like that. Look to make a trade with a team that wants to get rid of a guy for a trade exception, and we could use that as a trade exception. So that is a really, real big plus for me in regards to the CBA. And it was kind of along the lines of what I was hoping we'd be able to do with D'Angelo Russell's free agency money. Remember I said that about a month ago? That if he leaves, we can kind of fill in his money with a player that just wants to take the space and trade. Well, that was not possible, but this is. And so that's kind of along the same lines. I don't know exactly how much a trade exception would be this year. Definitely not $18 to $19 million, but that's a lot of money that you can give to a team like Milwaukee and take a player off their team, for example. You know what I mean? And send them back that money is a trade exception. So love that for our league, and I want to keep that if I had choice going forward. That should always be there. And use that trade exception as trade. Use that mid-level exception as a trade exception. That is supremely, supremely advantageous for building a roster. So yeah, man, that's what's on my mind. My phone's gonna die before I really get a chance to use up all this time. I'm sure it just told me 15%. So yeah, man, I should probably cut it short, but I just wanted people to know what I've been thinking. Kind of agree with you, Udonis Haslem. I know Udonis Haslem and LeBron James are not on the greatest of terms. Udonis said a few things that were kind of not derogatory, but they'll probably rub LeBron fans and LeBron the wrong way a couple weeks ago. I don't remember exactly what was said, so I don't want to put any further into it other than to say I know they ain't on the greatest of terms based on what I seen the energy was a couple of weeks ago. So that might have affected his point of view on what he thinks LeBron should be able to do or wants, or how much he's rooting for LeBron to get his way. I don't think he and UD are on the same page, which is unfortunate because they won a lot of championships together, or at least 2 of them, went to the finals a million times together, etc. But it is what it is, man. So, I think LeBron may have done something there in regards to saying that his tenure with the Miami Heat wasn't a determining factor to whether he would be successful in his career. And we know that the narrative is that he went to Miami to learn how to win a championship. That's what the media has been telling us for 20 years. So I think Udonis took exception to LeBron James' position that his career would have been the same if he would have went somewhere else instead of Miami. But I don't know. I really don't know. There were a million places. The reality is LeBron James was the best player in the world back then. And anywhere he went, he was going to win. He didn't know necessarily how to win in terms of leading a team to a championship, but he also didn't have the horses because Cleveland couldn't bring that to him for whatever reason. So going to Dwayne Wade's house essentially gave LeBron a big brother, in my opinion, that kind of taught him how to handle pressure situations and stuff like that. And he bumped his head real bad against the Dallas Mavericks. I think that was necessary to kind of go through that. But I'd be lying if I said that version of LeBron couldn't have went to any of the 29 teams, 30 teams in the league and had a successful finals run, because the reality was that was exactly who that was. So Udonis Haslem could take offense to that based on what the results were and how much LeBron probably learned there and all the different things that have to do with detail. But when you look at it from my perspective as a fan, that version of LeBron, he was going to run the league no matter where he went. That's just the truth. So you can take exception to that, but I definitely agree with LeBron. His career was going to be his career regardless. And when he got to Miami, he was immediately the best player they had. So